Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Modern Warfare Zombies is not very solo friendly. But that's exactly why this video exists, because I'm going to be showing you guys the best, fastest, and safest way to get up on your feet in Modern Warfare Zombies as a solo player. And the best part about this is that assuming nothing goes wrong, it's only going to take you 2 matches. And after those 2 matches, your loot's going to go from looking like this to looking like this. And with that said, let's get into this first match. So in your first match, your main goal by the end of it should be to get a 3-plate armor vest. This is the most important thing in the game, period. Like, there's nothing more important than this. Well, how do you get it? Well, you actually have to go to a buy station, but the buy station has to be in zone 2 because it's only in zone 2, not in zone 1 buy stations. But once you're there, you'll see the 3-plate armor vest and it's going to cost you 10,000 points. So that's what we're going to be working towards. But luckily for us along the way, we're going to be finding a lot of other stuff that's really going to help us by doing contracts that are going to be giving us a lot of loot that's probably going to include ether wrenches, ether crystals, perks, and other stuff like that. Now, to start off your game, you should only be really doing contracts in zone 1 because you're just not going to be able to kill zombies in zone 2. You eventually want to start doing contracts in zone 2 because in zone 2 they actually give you more points than the zone 1 contracts, because in zone 1 they only give you 2,000 points per contract, but in zone 2 they give you 3,000. But what contracts should you do? This is the most important part of the video. If you take anything from this video, let it be this, because I broke the contracts down into 3 different tiers. There's the ones you should always aim to do, the ones you should aim to do after you're set up, and the ones you just straight up never do. But let's start off with the ones you should always aim to do, and it's actually 3 contracts. It's Spore Control, Elimination, and Cargo Truck. These are by far the easiest ones to do solo, but especially more than any of those, the main one you should always try to get is Cargo Truck. It is so fast, so easy, and it's just the best one to do, period. All you have to do is just run to a garage, get the cargo truck, and drive it to a marked location with a helicopter chasing you. But the helicopter, as long as you're avoiding the shots because he always shoots ahead of you and it's easy to curve around them, as long as you're not breaking the truck, in other words, it's super easy to do. Like, just to show off how easy this was, and I don't recommend you doing this, but if you want to be risky, you could. I literally at the start of this game just ran to zone 2 without having anything, right? I still had just my gray gun and my 1-plate armor vest, and I went and got a cargo truck contract and just did it, right? I just did it, like, without a scratch. It was really that easy. But besides that, the next contract you want to aim for is Spore Control. This is also a very easy one to do on solo. All you have to really do is, while you are leaving this little thing by the eggs and breaking the eggs, is just make sure to kill some zombies. You know, make sure to kill them. Don't leave them alive because they will constantly spawn and you don't want too many zombies chasing you at once, because that's how you would die doing this contract. And the final one is Elimination. Now, I know some people just would want to avoid this on solo, but personally I think as long as you just spawn in that mini boss and bring him to an open area and just kind of run big trains with him, sure, it's going to take a while. He'll be a big old bullet sponge for us solo players, but personally I feel it's pretty safe, so you can do it. But really aim for the 2 previous ones more than this one. Now this brings us to the next tier of contracts, and these are the ones you should only do once you have a pack punch gun and at least Juggernaut. And what these include is Raid Weapon Stash and Outlast. Now, you might be able to add escort to this if you want to, but personally I don't like the escort contracts and I just avoid it personally, but you can add it to it if you want. And the only real recommendation I have for these ones is that don't be afraid to run away and gather yourself. Like, if the room starts getting too packed with too many zombies, just leave it. Like, leave the building, kill them outside the area, and then go back in and it'll resume just right where it was left off. You won't fail by leaving the room. Just be safe. You're a solo player. You don't want to be wasting your self revives, assuming you have them. And finally, the last tier of contracts, the ones that you should never do as a solo player, like, period. I don't care how much loot you have or how set you have. It's not worth the risk. These are Defend Ground Station and Ether Extractors. And the reason I say to avoid them is for the exact same reason as both of them. And it's because it spawns in way too many bots that could shoot at you. And for some reason, these bots have some godlike aim and they just melt your armor, and you're going to end up dying pretty easy dealing with these contracts. So as a solo player, avoid them. It spawns in way too much bots for a solo player. Now with that knowledge, let's go into a game and explain exactly how your match should look. So at the start of your match, only aim for Spore Control, Cargo Truck, and Elimination in Zone 1. Because what you want to do is get Pack-a-Punch and Juggernaut. That should be your main goal, because you're really just trying to do these until you could get into Zone 2 so you could do even more contracts. So after doing one contract, you could afford Juggernog, and after doing 2 more contracts, you could afford Pack-a-Punch, or you could do in the reverse order like I did in this game. Now by doing these contracts, you're going to get rewards at the end of it, and honestly, sometimes you'll just be getting some Pack-a-Punch crystals, so you don't even have to spend that 5,000 points on Pack-a-Punch, or you'll even get Jug, so you won't have to go buy Jug. So keep that in mind while you're playing this. Now, one question you may ask is like, where do I buy Jug? Well, unfortunately, it's just randomly in the Zone 1 area, so you're going to have to pull up the mini-map and just scroll through it till you find it. Like, I don't think there's set locations, maybe there is and I haven't noticed, but that's what you're going to do. And just crossing our fingers, it's not on the other side of the Zone 1 area. But after doing this, you should have done 3 contracts in the Zone 1 area, and you should have Pack-Punch and Juggernog and also all the other loot that you had while you did this, which also probably includes some self-revives because they're very generous with self-revives. And at this point, I believe most people should be at a point where they have enough loot that they will be able to move into the Zone 2 area. And obviously you want to do this because Zone 2 contracts actually give you more money, 3,000 per contract as I said earlier. Mainly aim for those first 3 contracts I mentioned, Sport Control, Cargo Truck, and maybe Elimination. But now I would add in Outlast and Raid Weapon Stash if you want to be a bit more risky. And really just do these contracts, and you're going to do about 3 of them, and at this point you should have 10,000 points. And what you want to do is, well, like I said earlier, find a buy station in the Zone 2 area and buy yourself a 3-plate armor vest. Your life will be changed once you get this. And at this point, you could just exfil, or if you think you have enough time, you could do more contracts to try to get another 10,000 points to get a large backpack. But most of the time, you're going to have to just exfil at this point. And this brings us into our second match. Now, before you even spawn in, don't be afraid to use some of the loot you got from the previous match. Like, it'll make your game 10 times easier. But really, the main difference between this game and your first game is that you should spawn in with some extra loot, and instead of saving up 10,000 points to get a 3-plate armor vest, instead you want to save up points to get a large backpack, which is also going to cost 10,000 points. So really just follow the structure of your previous game. Start off by doing the 3 easiest contracts in Zone 1 till you get a Pack-Punch gun and Juggernog, and then move into Zone 2 and start doing those 3 same contracts, except add in Outlast and Raid Weapon Stash now, and save up 10,000 points. Now, there is 2 big differences in this game, because the only area you could actually buy the large backpack from a buy station is in Zone 3, and that is a very risky thing to do. So one thing I recommend doing that is different is make sure not only do you have all your plates up and even extra plates when you go into Zone 3 to buy this large backpack, but also obviously have Jug, but most importantly make sure you have Stamina Up. Stamina Up will save your life so many times in the Zone 3 area because there are super sprinters, so make sure you have Stamina Up when you go to buy it, and probably like a monkey bomb, Gersh device, or even a decoy, just something to keep the zombies off your back while you go into the buy station to spend 10,000 points on a large backpack. And once you have this, feel free to exfil, and your games will feel 10 times better when you're spawning in with a large backpack and a 3-plate armor vest. And right here, I'd say you're pretty much on your feet, because at this point, not only do you have that 3-plate armor vest and a large backpack, but you've also already done about 18 or 20 contracts, and the loot from those contracts should have already gave you a ton of really good loot, a ton of self-revives, perk cans, crystals, ether trenches, and whatever it may be. And that's exactly how you got your loot in just 2 games, from going from looking like this to looking like this. And that wraps it up for this video. Hopefully this video is helpful for you solo players, but you know, it's still a difficult one nonetheless. I'm not saying this is easy, but it is the safest way to do all of this. But if you guys did find this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, I would appreciate it if you guys dropped a like, subscribe, bell, share, or any of that great stuff. But I'm gonna go catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever the heck it may be, and laters guys.